what do you find yourself holding on to? Whatever it is, are you holding on to it to a detriment? Like, are you finding yourself unhappy about the choices you've made just because you've been there for a very long time? So that's what we're talking about today on Embracing the Fight. It's called this episode of Letting Go. So before we get into that, hi, I'm Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host for Embracing the Fight. And I created this platform, this podcast, to help people to be able to speak freely about physical and mental health issues and concerns. Because people really look down on folks when they have issues because they either can't help them or that person, whenever they call for something or they need something, people are like, oh, that's so and so because they need this or they need that. They can't help do this, they can't help do that. And nobody wants to feel like that. Or it's someone that's silently dying on the inside that really needs to talk to someone. And if they don't, they may end up committing suicide, or they may consider taking other lives that have no idea of what's going on with them. So to help prevent that, I created Embracing the Fight. So if you would please subscribe to Embracing the Fight on YouTube. Also, click like, click share, and comment everywhere you see Embracing the Fight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Blue Sky. They are all listed as Embracing the Fight, except Instagram. It's Embracing the Fight _. Now that I've gotten the business, everything out of the way, let's talk about, this episode, letting go. So a lot of people, have a very tough time of letting things go. So let me give you a personal example. Each time I move, I noticed I started, accumulating and amassing, lots of things. And they'd be of great quality and I took good care of it, but I had the hardest time of letting these things go. I wanted to, be able to keep these things and I wanted to be able to, move them, to the next stage of life, but it didn't make sense. And being able to donate to Habitat, to Goodwill, to places like that, it allowed me to let go a little bit easier because I know that someone who's, suffering in some way can benefit from those nice things. But for some reason, we tend to attach emotions to things. And one thing that my mom was saying when I was telling her, I didn't really want to get rid of, my china cabinet and table and chairs and all that. And she was just like, well, you know, you just sometimes have to let stuff go because it's not the thing. It's, the memory or the person that you love is not that, object. And when I started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, you're right. But guess what? I ended up keeping the china cabinet because it was purchased when I was a baby and it still looks, new. It doesn't look like it's been scratched or harmed or anything at all. And I know it's a traditional, thing for people to have, china cabinets and things in their house. It's not this modern or minimalist, thing, but it was something that my mom gifted to me because, I had gotten, my home and I was living in Mobile and she's like, here, have it. No, I wasn't in Mobile. I was in Alabaster. And she was like, here, have it. And it fit perfectly in my home because I had a dining room area and there was nothing in it. But people would come over and the conversations that we would have concerning that china cabinet, it brought back memories of other people. And they were saying, I gave my grandma's china cabinet away because I remember the summers of being at her home. And anytime I would look at something or see something in hers, it reminded me of her. And I would be flooded with happy and joyful memories. And hearing those kinds of things, it was like, you know what, maybe I'll feel, the same way when I look at things and I think of people. Who knows? But maybe that's why, it's hard for us to let go of things or people or thoughts or ideas or whatever it is that we love because we have attached an emotional, feeling to it. And it's hard, to get rid of something once your heart is in it. Like you start thinking about people in general. I've talked to some folks that say they have been dating, mind you guys, dating for over 20 years, some over 40 years. And it's like, wait a minute, why didn't you all pull the trigger? And they're like, well, I'm not ready for the commitment marriage, presents. But hey, you've been together that long. You what they call common law marriage, even though they don't recognize that, in many states. But you are, virtually married for all intents and purposes now. Maybe not legally, but everything else you do, everything is a family. You probably have a family, live together, you worship together, you do everything together. You just don't have everything written down on paper. And then I'll hear people say, well, they need to change this or they need to do that. I won't marry them because this, that, but you're still there. So why would you torture yourself to stay there when you know the person is cheating, they're violent, they're doing all these things and they hadn't changed in 20 years? Sometimes we have to learn to let go, but we can't let go because of that emotional attachment. Believe me, when you let go of that emotional attachment, you're gonna feel like you drained from the crown of your head to the sole of your feet. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to have to deal with. And when you do that, it's like, you know, how do I start over? How do I make this right? What can I do? And a lot of people don't understand that it's okay to be lost when you love someone for that long and it's the only person that you know in that way. It's okay. It's normal. It's natural. It's not, something that you should beat yourself up over and say, I was stupid for being with them this long. I should have done this and I should have done that. No, you followed your heart. You did what your heart desired to do. And now you're realizing that there are a lot of things that you could have done differently, to end up with the person that you really wanted to be with. Also, when you are working in a particular place and you start seeing people pass you, for different jobs, but everybody comes to you for information and for advice, but you stay there for them. But it's like, wait a minute, why are you staying there for these people? Because they're advancing, you're staying where you are. You have to let go. Or you have to realize that the knowledge you have is valuable and start your own business doing exactly what it is that other people are seeking you for because it's needed, it's necessary. But you have to let go of the inferior feeling that's inside of you that's saying you can't do it. Because that's why a lot of people don't become entrepreneurs. They feel like, I'm going to fail and this is not going to work out and everybody's going to laugh at me and I'm going to look stupid. Do you realize how many people that are entrepreneurs now failed at some point before they became entrepreneurs? They had to fail forward though. So, what is it that's keeping you emotionally attached to building someone else's dream? Because essentially, that's what you're doing when you work for someone else and you refuse to let go when you are not being compensated or treated the way that you desire to be treated. What about when you come into a place and say, for instance, it's your church and you've been worshiping, you've been giving, and you've been volunteering, and you just don't feel like you belong there, anymore. It's family church, you've been there all your life, and you say, this is it, this is it, this is it. But you're just going through the motions. Now you need to talk to the Lord and ask the Lord why you're feeling this way. Are you being fed the way that you should be fed? Is there something in the church that's causing you this type of hurt? And if it is, why won't you let go? Why do you feel that you should be a glutton for punishment for the things that are happening to you? Because when you put yourself in a situation and things happen and you keep going back and you keep going back and you keep going back, then 9 times out of 10, those things aren't going to change because the people who are doing it to you think it's okay because you keep going back. So if you're in, a position like that in your church, definitely pray and ask the Lord where it is that you should be and ask him to soften and touch the hearts of the people that are causing you the issue that you're seeing because he doesn't want you to feel that way coming in to worship, in his house with his people. So, what else must we let go? Or what are some things that are hard to let go of? I know a lot of people when they lost their jobs and they have to downsize, they want to still keep that humongous house and those, nice cars and all that kind of stuff. I mean, sure you can do it, but you're gonna have to work, to actually get this money and to make and do what you need to do. It's not something that's just going to, happen. It's something that you're going to have to fight for and work for. But why do that when you could say sell your home? So that's basically what I did. I decided to sell my home and gave away a whole lot of things. I'm able to bless people, but I had to let go because I was trying everything in my power, to get different jobs and things, in this area. And it was just like, this isn't my time or season to be here anymore. God has something different, for me. And I have to accept what God allows. Now, at first, it was like, do I really want to? Because give up all these wonderful conveniences and have a loving, happy, kind church. I have friends here. I'll go and play tennis, all that. But something is missing. And that's something, God is laying it on my heart, that it's not here. No matter what jobs I applied for, they were like, oh, you're overqualified, or oh, we can't pay you that much for that position. And it's like I took a humongous cut to come here. And here I am 7 years later, gonna make less than what I was making when I first started. No, no. And that's what made me jump into entrepreneurship. It made me start to build my business. And after this move, I will have the time, the effort, the energy to do the things to make it grow. So, what is it that you have to let go of in order to be able to do the same, if not greater, to find your purpose, to find what it is that you're missing? And once you find it, what happens if you haven't let go of what you need to let go to receive it? So, say for instance, you meet that person and you say still tied up with this person you've been tied up with 20 years, and they're like, I really like you, I want to get to know you, but you're not free. So you gonna be willing to miss the opportunity of being with the person that you always wanted, or somebody comes along and offers you a position that puts you exactly where you want to be. And you're like, oh, but I'm gonna stay and I'm gonna help these people. No, sometimes you have to choose your happiness. What happens when you're sitting there and your friend says, "Hey, you want to check out this church with me this Sunday?" You say, "Yeah," and you go and the spirit and everything immediately hits you. You feel welcome. You feel warm, and you're like, "Why have I been over there all this time? This ain't for me." Are you gonna stay just because that's what you've always done, or are you gonna move where you feel God is moving? You have to think about all of these things that are going on in your mind. What are you willing to let go of to get what God has for you? And only you can answer that. And that's basically, what I really want you all to see today on Embracing the Fight. Whatever you decide to let go of, there is something that is waiting for you on the other side of it that's been held up because you have been so emotionally attached to this thing or this relationship, this job, the situation, so much so that you couldn't hear God clearly. And now that you're free and now that you're open and you can hear God clearly, what will you do with it? So let me know, in the comments what you're thinking about letting go of and why. I would love to read your comments and I would love to talk back with you. All right. So thank you all for watching this episode of Embracing the Fight, Letting Go. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, and have an absolutely amazing day.